Okay, good morning, all of you. Welcome to this webinar on implementing ISO 50001-2018 Energy Management System. The faculty will be Mr. Praveen Pasricha from Delhi. So I welcome all the participants for this program, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Praveen. Sir, you can continue, sir.
Yeah. Good morning. Interestingly, probably this will be the last session in the current round. And after that, QCI sessions are going to have from Monday onwards. So it's just a chance that the participants logically will be also busy because many of them thought have prepared themselves to join the industry. So with this, I just observed and talked to Rama and I realized nobody has talked about this subject. So I being involved in this, I thought I do this. So welcome you all to this 35 to 40 minute, 5-minute session on energy management system.
Mr. Praveen, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We have a program up to 7th May.
Oh, we extended it.
7th May.
Okay, so that's a good interruption. Because I saw a mail from Rama yesterday, message.
Yeah.
That this will be the ending, and that's the reason I thought.
Okay.
So please remember 7th May. So topic is understanding what is energy management system. Brief description about the requirements, understanding focus area. See, I must tell you clearly. I understand very well that it is a management system consultant. So when it's a system standard, that too is certifiable, not a guideline, we all are aware about an Excel. We all are aware about the basics, but there's no point talking about generic things which are part of an Excel and you all understand. So they will be focusing on those small points or finer points which I have been using as a consultant while guiding my clients. So this is based on that particular experience of supporting about 45 clients in implementing energy management system. Energy, we all know, interestingly, this word came from energia, and then it was basically Aristotle who gave this word, who basically being at work. So definition became work. Heat and work became the basic. But the way we use it typically in our working, we define them as electricity, fuel, steam, heat, compressed air. Many of my friends have been coming to me, compressed air? Oh, what is this? As a matter of fact, compressed air energy storage is just like the way we do in hydropower energy. We store compressed energy. And then we expand it and then push turbines through this and then use that as a form of energy for a large scale energy consumption. So don't be enamored by the word that it is a energy form. And obviously renewable energy, thermal energy, and these all can be purchased. We all purchase energy for office and home. We store energy. Then it can be recycled energy. And it can be the way we are working in day-to-day operation. All these are forms of energy. So it's not only that we use, it can be stored and it can be used. Common metrics are, we all understand, common metrics are joule, and then we have been working on this. I'll talk about it and later I'll talk to you energy consumption. This standard has got two very distinct focus. First, established system like any other standard. But this is one standard we talk of improve energy performance and then culture of energy performance improvement. That means energy performance has become a very key point or a key deliverable in this standard and improvement in the same. So it must understand the meaning of energy performance. So being high focus on performance, let me explain to you, but because many of you may not be aware, those who are working on it surely are aware of that, but those who are not, of them. energy performance is measurable results of, I prefer to use the word energy efficiency and energy use for a energy consumption for a prescribed use. So let me make some easy for you use. Typically, it means ventilation, heating, cooling, transportation, data storage, production processes. We all use energy in all of them. The way we apply the energy for our usage, that is energy use. Then comes to energy consumption. And we all are aware about kilowatt hour is a measure of energy consumption, the quantity of energy being used. Just to make it more easy for you and those who are implementing BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency metrics, they basically want the designated consumer to talk of energy consumption in metric ton of oil equivalent. They call it MTOE. This is nothing but 10,500 kilowatt hour kWh. Focus here is so that when we compare energy, we will talk about that in great detail little later in this session. When we compare energy, we will be able to know at that time that it is a very important metric because we are comparing. Whenever you do improvement, you have to compare. Similarly, energy efficiency. This is nothing but output divided by input. So the equipment which is more efficient, like we know LED lamps are energy efficient compared to our old lamps, which are of the old type, we call them incandescent light bulb 42 against now 8. So this is the ratio. So input energy versus light emitted by them. So you all know energy cannot be consumed. Energy it only changes the form. So from say electrical to light, we all understand that language. So efficiency is input divided by output. In a thermal power plant, typically steam generated by the coal consumed and the power generated by the steam consumed. And in the solar power, how much in the body you gave it out using so much solar energy from that. And we measure this energy performance by a metric known as energy performance indicator, which can be a consumption and which can be an efficiency both. So now we have been all talking about performance. So there has to be a relationship between the management system and performance. Few things you all know. And every system we have policy, we have objective, we have internal audit, we have non-conformities, management reviews. I'm not talking about all of them, which are given. And I have put them in the white color. This standard typically uses a lingo known as energy baseline. It says you decide where you are, then decide where you want to be. And obviously you want to be, you have to decide performance indicator that can be on consumption, that can be on the efficiency both. So obviously when you want to go to the next level, you have to define the targets. The typical 3 words which are different or usually unique to this standard are targets, baseline, and energy performance indicators. These are the inputs which are very part ingrained in the management system. 2 interesting things. See, when we talk of energy performance, people generally will take what is happening in the 4 walls of the company. But he has gone slightly beyond. The standard says you must ensure that all your procurement process should have energy as one of the key focus areas. In the designing, you talk of life cycle, although it doesn't strictly say you have to calculate it. Remember the consumption over the life cycle. So when you're comparing between the two, you are able to compare in the form of life cycle. It's not immediately what is happening, but over period how it is happening. So naturally it will lead to, these systems will promote 3 things. One is improvement in the management system, like every other standard. Second will be positively about the energy performance improvement. That means improve the consumption, which is again in the form of the efficiency and consumption based on its baseline and the improved state that we talked about. And third thing can be, which is a very unique to the standard, it is going beyond energy. It is not only cost, you can think of climate change. You can think of reliability. You can think of usage of more renewable energies, which will be saving for future generation our fossil fuel. And the way now we are and petroleum prices going down, I think we're all set to stay back in the fossil fuel world, because I think right now renewable energy is costing more and the fuel prices have gone down. I'm only worried people will still like to say, okay, let's not bother about environment, let's talk of money. And right now the consumption of renewable generation energy is relatively pretty expensive, especially in the vehicular movements. Then next part comes to planning. Clause 6, we all talk of risk assessment, and that is typically strategic planning. This standard, in addition to strategic planning, which is done at an organization level, also talk about tactical planning. So I'll be covering this particular planning in two components, strategic and tactical. One is strategic. Typically, we would know, we both all understand external and internal issues, interested party requirement, 6.11 typically, identify the risk and action based on that. So this is not going to be pretty different from that angle, and based on that you decide about where actions are to be required, where actions are not possible, you put them in the control processes of your own so that your things are integrated, and implement these actions and evaluate effectiveness. This lower language which I'm cursor right now is standard, but this will need a special attention. So let me give you some special attention on this particular aspect. How we do that in energy. We all do that, issues, internal and external. So typically you can consider supply of energy, weather, technology, legal. I just put examples. Don't take them sacrosanct or limited to a certain level. This is just an example. And in the internal one, governance, knowledge, strategy, global warming. Again, these are all internal with which you are bothered about to do, which are not in your control, which are within your control. These are all in your control. These are beyond your control. Let me take just one example. If you are a thermal power plant, supply of energy can be that you are ready to produce, but the grid is not willing to accept it. When you're buying it, you suddenly come to know that that particular mine says, sorry, you are not able to supply. Diesel, oh boy, in India it is such an erratic game. Quality of the coal, whether you buy from Malaysia, buy from Australia, buy from South Africa, keep on troubling you, and you have to talk about all the planning with respect to the same. And on this side, typically how you're managing your equipment and how are you controlling your service providers, these are all in my control. These issues are simple. Only thing you have, rather than thinking quality or environment or safety, start giving in your mind energy, and you will get in your mind. I believe all of you will get it. But I'm giving you something useful. It might be used by some of you and might not be used by some of you. How we recommend it? We say, first of all, consider the context. And issues like this, take issue by issue. Like here we are taking an example of supply of energy from a source. A coal is the energy I'm taking just as a coal. It can be electricity, it can be petrol, it can be diesel. I'm not talking about that. Limiting to coal. And in the coal, issue is calorific value of the coal. Who's interested? It can be power station head, who's very much keen to know that he's keen to know that my plant should run at the designed capacity, and that is only possible when we have the desired GCV. So interested party requirements are automatically covered in the one clause. You don't have to make separate jugaad for the same, just stay here. But then now we are moving to the risk area. In case it is not met, what will happen? So interested party requirement and issue both are combined together, and we say, okay, what will be the impact if my GCD is low? Logically, cost per unit of energy produced shall be more than desired because I am not able to work at this GCD proper. So this is my typically planning input. Remember, I showed you here input, planning, output. Please remember that. I'm not covering to the lower portion here, but here we'll be able to know this. Action I may not come to, but this will be very well covered, and then you can decide action on that. So what I'm going to do, showing it here, determining the impact. Now, having determined the impact, you all know how to do risk assessment. We all would like to know severity. So how to determine severity? What is the requirement of likely impact of the same? And you remember we talked of energy consumption, energy performance, in which I talked to you two typical contents: energy efficiency and energy consumption. And I don't want to leave legal requirements. Sometimes that alone can become a nonsense in any kind of a risk assessment. So if we try to create an impact, in this case we have created an impact of 139, 1 mean negligible, or you can say no impact, so that our multiplier doesn't become 0, and 3 medium impact and high 9 impact. You can always quantify it if you like, nothing wrong in it. But if you don't want to quantify, you can use your wise judgment. So long as there is a consensus and there is a criteria defined, it is good. So highest of these three, we're calling it as an impact. But remember, it could be 3, it could be all 9, but highest of them, we're calling it impact. So next is always occurrence rate. And those who know FMEA and those who are knowing risk assessment, you will know occurrence is highly, highly dependent upon what is the control you have. So obviously we will talk about existing control, and one of the control decided, okay, if I'm getting from the poor mines of our Dhanbad area, I will be using some Australian mine and mix it up. Maybe my design was based on a particular, say 6,000 GCV or 4,000 GCV. So I planned on that, I mixed the two. But you see, all the time I'm not able to do that. And I even written an SOP on that. Since I'm not able to do all the time, so sometimes I still get into the mess of having a low GCV, and I have to run the plant defined on the occurrence 95% time, 90% time. All these are to be considered in this way. Then severity into occurrence typically will become your risk. You can prioritize risk based on this. And wherever risks are higher, as we have been doing it in any other standard, you can plan to take action. So this is a way when you're doing energy, you can think on the same line. Please remember, you can do the similar trick in the quality as well. You can do quality delivery legal, quality delivery resources, quality delivery management. You can combine them. But here, obviously, please remember energy. Now, next is on the tactical. Tactical is always on equipment to equipment. That is important. And we go to every equipment, whether it is an area or it is utility or it is production or it is maintenance, whichever equipment. In this particular game, when we are doing review, we basically look at the guideline the standard has given. He says, analyze the energy. I should use the word performance. Typically, the one which consumes high energy, right? The one which is having less efficiency. And second part is where we determine there is a potential for energy performance exists. So our goal will be to identify those where consumption is high, those where efficiency is an issue, and this will call for a data. And wherever we need to make an opportunity for improvement, we have to consider some design data or some information about the present best practices or accepted norms. He wants us to consider these. So it is not said in these words, it is implied in these words. And those which are having high consumption or poor efficiency, and we find there's an opportunity for improvement, they become technically our significant energy use. That means we are considering a potential for improvement in our energy consumption in these areas. That's how we are going to look at it. So logically, we have to talk of now energy consumption. We have to talk of here now energy, you say, the possibility of saving. We have to talk on that language. So typically, again, a new model, input, process, output. Inputs are what type of energy you are using. We can use fossil fuel, we can use electrical, we can put thermal, we can put renewable, all of them. What are you using it? What has been the performance in the past? And what are the uses? Sometimes we find use can be eliminated. You just consider all of them. Which type of energy, where you are using, and how much energy is being consumed. Typically in the analysis, we will consider this. And these are my inputs. So based on the consumption, we will identify where are the opportunities for improvement. And when I am doing this particular type of activity at that particular time, what I will do, next job is to determine significant energy use. Now, when I am talking of significant energy use, one thing he asks us is determine relevant variables. That means those quantifiable factors that significantly impact our energy performance on a routine basis. For example, for the motor's load keep on varying, or a motor is working anyway in an underload condition. There is an idle running. In HVAC, where air cons are running in a defined season and they are not running in other defined season. Compressed air, sometimes production level is high, then consumption is high. When it is low, it will be low. It can even be weather in certain equipment. I mean, we have to consider all relevant factors, variables, which can impact my whole energy performance. And keeping that in consideration, determine the energy performance. And then decide, okay, these are the factors that are having energy performance impact. Logically, we'll talk of controls here also, because if there are variable factors, we have to talk of controls at that point itself, because that will be able to help me to see whether there's an opportunity of not. But third step will be determining where are the opportunities. Now, when we talk of improvement, obviously we want to talk of based on purpose of energy review is determining significant energy use, consuming high energy, potential for improvement. Determine baseline. First, decide the measure. So many ton of cement ground with so much power, so much energy generated with so much steam, typically like that. These are the indicators. Then determine the baseline, where we are. Determine the baseline. I am here right now. And then say, okay, I want to be here. So obviously, wherever this will enable me giving second input for the targets and action plans, and logically, this will call for a lot of data collection. Before, after, during, running, how they are operating, all will become a part in the whole exercise. So, how to now work on this? For each operational area, we have divided that in typically 4 steps. Number 1 step is determine those which are consuming high. So go area by area, go equipment by equipment. and calculate how energy is being consumed. You can always define a criteria. If a particular equipment is consuming 30% of the energy, it is highly significant. If it is between 10 to 30, it is medium significant. If it is using less than 10%, it is not significant. So first job is which equipment is consuming high energy, number one. So this will become one criteria, the one which is consuming high energy. Second will be, as we discussed in the definition itself, where is the potential for saving? Now, obviously, before I go for the saving, first I see what are the variables that can affect my energy consumption. If variables are in control, logically, I don't have a chance for any potential improvement, because whatever was there, it is all in my control. It could be underloading, could be controlled, over other underutilization could be controlled, any could be controlled. Problem. Then we determine energy saving potential for each equipment, because say for example, in a particular area there is a variable load. There is no control which can talk of energy saving. So logically you say, okay, now I see I will use a VFD because whenever there's a less load, it will draw less energy. When there's a more load, it will draw more energy. So you say, okay, variable load, VFD, or similar thing, opening, closing, with the manual controls are there. And whenever that weakness of control exists, or I see that the underloaded item, I will consider, okay, here is my potential. And I will calculate the potential and then try to determine what is the saving possible. Again, I will talk about it. Saving in terms of, I can save 30% of the present load, as the way I've given a 50 kilowatt motor here, and loading is only of 10 kilowatt here. It never exceeded that. The one who designed it didn't design it properly, or I improved the subsequent usage, my draw has gone down. Why the hell this 50 kilowatt motor is doing here? So I'll say, okay, I'm going to work on this, and I will consider that what is the loading rate in this, and accordingly decide if I replace it by this, I'm going to get that much saving. So we will again say saving in a particular area. Say if it is more than 20%, for me it's significant. If it is say 5 to 20, maybe medium. You have to do ranking here, you have to do ranking here. And then combining both of them. Okay, this is high consuming, lot of saving, brilliant. I can do energy saving here. So you determine, wow, I can save energy. Then you go to before you go to the management, you have to do one clear part. And this is the reason energy management is so dear to the management. But this is one standard where we positively talk all the time, money, money, and money, which is so dear to the management. So calculate payback period based on the cost of improvement divided by saving, and as per the company criteria and the deep pockets they have, you can decide, okay, this will give me prioritize usage for action. And please remember, you can even think on this, where there is no potential, no problem. Don't forget that these controls are well maintained. It doesn't happen that you slide back. So these variables should not be, more variables should not disturb you. Existing control should not go weaker. You continue to do monitoring, but logically, based on this, make your objectives. That is important part. Now, you have planned an improvement. You have done the measurement. You have made an indicator. Say any indicator, no problems. You decided the indicator for measurement, and your present energy performance is this. So you're consuming so many kilowatt right now, so many MTOIs of so far. You did a wonderful job. You worked on it, and you're so happy. This was my target. This is what I've achieved. So I've done a great job. So I've done a brilliant improvement here. Absolutely brilliant improvement here. I've exceeded the target. But you know what you did? You outsourced the process. Your production went down. You changed to, you worked on a many factors which are there, which came in the picture and led to it. So logically, there are so many variable factors which need to be considered. And we have to compare conditions before and conditions after. So this process of conditioning before and condition after is being called normalization. This is also followed by Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Globally, it became a hit thing from 2010-11 onwards, and now anybody doing improvement should go through this, and we have to consider what was the condition before and what was the condition now. Then approach for comparing this particular comparison is, please remember, it can be specific power consumption, which is generally measured by kilowatt hour per unit or MTOE, as I told you earlier also. It can be number of units produced or kg or a ton, depending upon what kind of production you are having it. So you can say my specific consumption is so many kilowatt hour per 1,000 pieces, so many kilowatt hour per kg of powder produced, so many kilowatt hour consumed per ton. Keeping in consideration variables which impact our energy consumption. So important factor becomes those variable things which are impacting my energy consumption. So obviously we must consider these factors which need to be considered. If the capacity changes, remember, we calculate energy in two factors, static energy or dynamic energy. So if the capacity changes, the variable energy will change, but static will not change. So your unit consumption will look very nice. So you say, oh, I've done a great job. But no, capacity has played a role here. Output product mix. I have known a wonderful example from one of my clients, and they were having two kind of product mix. One was consuming very low energy and one was consuming very high energy. And they were using basically feedstock as one of the fuel. Interestingly, the management decided if you produce the high production, we'll give you incentive. So the month when they were using low producing carbon black, low energy carbon black, they used to make very high production, which had a very low margin, but they used to get bonus. And when they were making specialty grade, they were getting negligible bonus. Now that was a very sad story. Now then the management like, oh boy, we need to normalize it. We have to make a baseline that which particular product consumes how much energy per ton of produce. So they decided the normalized based on the energy consumed per ton of different grades and made one grade as a baseline. How much is the capacity utilization? Number of stops. Earlier, number of stoppages can change dramatically in this process, because if the number of stops increase, obviously you will have different ball game in the whole process, because number of stoppages may lead to energy waste. In the steel plants, if you have 10 stops versus 12 stops, each stop will waste minimum 8 hours of restarting the plant. So obviously that will affect my energy. So they will say, okay, let's talk of number of stops and similar factors we can consider. I've just given 8, 9 PPTs anyway coming to you. You can get them. Remember, you can do that in the office as well. Don't forget it. Weather, occupancy, load, time of the day, they all can play very important role. Season, they all can play very important role when we are doing such normalization. Now that part was over. I just talked of you few things which are unique here. I'll not talk of clause 7, I'll not talk of clause 9, 10. They make no sense. You all understand that. This standard wants nominating energy management team. You see, the second step is culture building. So they would expect that you will have nominees in every area with their defined responsibility and authority, who will be responsible for establishing and continually improving. They are the one who will motivate others. They are the one who will help others. They are the one who will report the action plan. They are the one who will help the team members in understanding the spirit behind it. And in the policy, you all know policy, many things. Two things which are not there in any policy are here. Number one, management should support procurement of energy efficient products, services that impact energy performance. That means logically consumption and efficiency both. And when you're buying it, you normally talk of energy efficiency. That is the main key factor. And they talk about it, calculate life cycle. I just did one wonderful calculation way back in 2015 when LEDs were costing 900 bucks, now they're 250, versus incandescent lamp that we were using in our office. And we suddenly realized that even in 900 rupees cost, our ROI was coming only 7 months, 8 months, because our office remains open for 12 to 13 hours. So please remember, whenever you're doing such thing, it is important to consider this calculation, that what is my ROI? And when you're buying procurement, talk of life cycle. If somebody gives you the quotation, oh, always take care. Okay, what efficiency he is offering, what efficiency he is offering, what current draw, what power he is offering, what energy he is offering. Compare between the two. Consider the life and then decide, okay, this one is going to be very useful, this one is not going to be. Second will be supporting design. Logically, when we are talking of design, same thing will happen in the case of design. When you're designing it, whether in an equipment or in the system or it is a process, again remember energy consumption and energy performance. And don't have to say that. To do this, they have given in the clause 8 two typical guidelines. Logically, in both the guidelines, you will see expected operating lifetime and expected operating lifetime. That means whenever you're doing any designing or whenever you're doing any procurement, make sure that your vendors are made very, very clear that this will be the criteria. L1 will not be the criteria. We will be comparing a life cycle in the entire process. I think I had 40 minutes with me. I've done it in 38 minutes. I am with you after this.
Thank you, Praveen sir. Participants, any questions you can type in the chat box, or you can.
Thanks, Praveen. It was excellent presentation, sir.
You can unmute and ask the question. Thank you.
Let me go by comments one by one so that I can answer that.